Hello and welcome to another edition of your favourite podcast, Insane in the Membrane.
Insane in the Membrane.
Hello everybody, welcome again to another episode. We are in the midst of colds and coughs, but we've been tested. It's not the COVID or the Omicron or whatever the new one's called. It is a common or golden cold that is ravaging the Insane in the Membrane family. But at least it's that, and it's not the other one. So good. Weirdly, I don't know why it's good, but it's not been good. Here we are. Anyway, before we get into that, let's talk about. Let's do the admin. Thanks, firstly, to our Patreons. Thank you so much for helping us keep the lights on. Really appreciate that. We're honestly, without you, we would be really struggling. So thank you so much to all of our wonderful patrons. If you're listening to this and you would like to become a Patreon, go to our Insane in the Membrane Patreon page, and you can pay what you want. But all of it goes back into the podcast and helps us keep this going. So we don't make any money from it. It all goes into the podcast. So if you could do that for us, or you want to do that for us, thank you very much. If you're already doing that for us, thank you. It does not go unnoticed. You are all legendary human beings. Thank you so much. Now, also, we've mentioned this many times before. SOS Clothing, Save Our Souls Clothing. They've now started they've got a new website where all of our merch is on. You've got Comedy Arcade, Vic's Layton's, you've got Off the Beaten Track, you've got the Pink Toothbrush. It's all on there, and it's called buythatmerch.co.uk. That's where you'll get all of our stylish Insane in the Membrane t-shirts, and there's a range of colours now, whereas before we were just doing the gold. Now we've got green, we've got red, we've got grey, we've got all manner of things. So go to the website, buythatmerch.co.uk, and check it out. You'll have a great time. So thanks to Stacey and Mark for doing that for us. And like I say, a range of colours, because I know people getting upset because don't do gold. Well, no, you don't have to. The gold one is still there, but now you do black, white, all sorts. Have a look, you'll love it. Also, do get your limited edition Insane in the Membrane coffee beans from wogancoffee.com, based in Bristol. Use the exclusive Membrane listener promo code Membrane, that's one word, for 10% off of our podcast packs. So if you get them, just send us a picture, we will have a look. We did have some somewhere, but I think producer Paul's had it. I think he's drunk it. So so thank you to wogancoffee.com, based in Bristol as well. How cool is that? And don't forget to check the episode notes each week for links to our guests, our merch, and also don't forget we've got a YouTube channel now. So a lot of these with video now. We put them out on our YouTube channel. So Insane in the Membrane on YouTube. And we've also got a Twitch channel as well, and that's where you can see me in action in the studio. So that comes up as well. There's all manner of things, and we're going to. Coming up for the new year, we've got loads of stuff coming up. It's going to be our third birthday in February, so we've got a special edition coming out for that. So stay tuned for that one. And once all the lockdown restrictions and that sort of stop again, we will be back out. We're going to do another live one because we do really well at Latitude, and we've had a really good time doing the live one. So we're going to see if we can do another one, but. At the moment, it looks like all the lockdown things are coming back. Not lockdown, all the COVID restrictions coming back into play. So it's all up in the air at the minute. So we'll see. We will see, because I've had a morning. As I record this, I've had a morning. All my gigs are dropping away again. It's not looking good for old Wilson. It's going to be a bleak winter. Let me tell you that much. But you know what? I've got you guys, so we'll be fine. As long as we all stick together, we'll be fine. We'll be punting this out every week, regardless of what goes on with the Rona. So we don't even call it the Rona now, do they? It's the vid. But don't worry. This will keep coming at you. Don't you worry about that. It's all fine. So this week's guest is I didn't realise it. All right. So where we are at Dark Horse Digital, which is producer Paul's studio. There's other people using on different floors, different offices in the building. We've got Sasha who works upstairs, and he's something to do with special effects in movies. We've got there's the guy from the forum in Tunbridge Wells. He comes down sometimes and he uses a bit of the office. And then downstairs, it was a photographer. His name's Mark Harrison. And his work's on the wall, and as you walk in, there's a big picture, a famous picture of Sinead O'Connor that you would have seen. And Frank Lampard as well, and you go, is that him? Oh, cool. And then as I've got to know him, as I've come down to the studio, I talked to Paul, talked to him, we had a pint, and he's photographed everybody, like some of the most famous photographs you've seen. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, yeah, I didn't know that was you. And we got chatting, and I was like, do you know what? Do you want to come on the podcast and talk about this? And he was like, yeah, I'd love to, because yes, mental health is the jumping off point for this podcast. But as many listeners know, sometimes it does go off into other areas. But I always think that, listening to other people's stories and the things that they've had to deal with, I think it all still comes under the banner of mental health. Because just having to deal with people is something that really does put a strain on everybody's mental health. Depending on what mood you're in, depending on what job you're doing. I think all these stories help in some way, help us to get a better understanding, or not a better understanding, but it makes us feel less alone. Oh yeah, you had to deal with that. I've had to deal with a similar thing like that, and so that's why I have all these different interesting people on that come from different backgrounds. That aren't. It's not necessarily mental health, outright, but I think it all helps. And Mark's he's like I say, he's photographed some incredible people, and one of the stories and he'll talk about this sort of he talked about as much as he could in the episode. He was there to photograph the infamous interview with Prince Andrew, and so we get to find out what happened there and how he came to be in the room with that incredible thing. And so I mean, he's photographed Danny Vito, Sting, even Boris Johnson. So he's photographed some incredible people, and it was. Like I say, dealing with people, and especially in that environment, people like that on that level, you got to deal with, you're not just dealing with people, you're dealing with egos, insecurities, they're keen when their photographs be taken, but then suddenly they don't want them out, there's a lot to deal with. It's very stressful. And so I was like, I'm really interested to find out. So look, I was like, you know what, I thought I'd have him on. So yeah, coming up in a minute is Mark Harrison.
A podcast from producer Paul.co.uk.
Insane in the membrane.
People don't realise what goes into what you do. It's not just taking a photo.
Well, it's the prep beforehand. It's the thinking how anybody's going to do it, and planning it all out, looking at how much time you've got, and how you're going to engage with them, and whether you're going to go down the sort of chameleon route of fitting in with their groove, or whether you're going to come at them with an agenda. It's all sorts of ways of doing it, and I never know what I'm going to find. I have no idea whether I'm going to turn up and people are going to be charismatic and my best friend, or burst into tears, or there have been some extraordinary ones over the years of people who've reacted in ways that have completely thrown me.
Really?
And I've had to. I did a shoot years ago with Al Gore.
Yeah, right, okay.
And so ex-Vice President of the United States, and he was extraordinary. They said you got 10 minutes in a hotel. So I had about 10 minutes to set the thing up. So I had to work it out beforehand. I knew what the score was, had it worked out, walked in the room, got my lights ready, had a simple setup.
Yeah.
But I needed to get a reaction off him, because all the pictures I'd looked at him, there was nothing. So I was determined to get something from him, some sort of physicality that suggested that he was alive, because he just looked zen, dead, and I couldn't get it. And I'm rarely defeated, so I just sort of got closer and closer. There's a kind of natural distance we all stand from each other, and that if you go into someone's personal space, you get a kind of reaction. Normally, their eyebrows change, they get a bit tense. Men especially, women are fine, but men can be quite difficult if you invade their personal space. Really? He didn't do anything. So normally if I cross that threshold, you get a reaction. He didn't do anything. And it got to the point where I was running out of time and I hadn't got the shot. And every single picture, he looked the same. He just wouldn't change, which is really unusual. He wouldn't follow instructions. It was almost like the CIA had said to him, don't give anything away. So I stopped. This is a camera on a tripod, stood up, and grabbed him, leant across and grabbed him, thinking, well, if for nothing else, he's got to do something, expecting either Secret Service to come over or something, and nothing. Just, what? Even when I grabbed him, nothing. And when I left the shoot a bit disheartened, thought, what an opportunity, and I've messed up. I got home, and this is in the days of film, so ran out the contact sheets, sat and looked at them all. They're all pretty much the same. So I rang the magazine and said, why don't you just run the whole lot? Why don't you run it that this is the Rock, this is the man, this is the immovable man? Because, there were small variations, but fundamentally, it was just like this is the way he presents himself, and nothing can change that. It was an odd one. But,
especially when you grab someone. I mean, that, like you say.
Well, sometimes you have to. I mean, I'll do anything to get people to respond. I mean, if most 9 out of 10 times it's fine, and it's a combination of getting a performance from them. They're either going to give me their performance, but I generally look at how things have been approached before with people and try and go somewhere else. So there are certain people who always do the same picture. They always present themselves to the public in a similar way, and I'm just keen to go somewhere else. So quite often, sometimes it doesn't work. I did a shoot last year with Lorraine Kelly,
right,
and she's always grinning,
to
the point where you just wonder whether that's really her. And the first thing I said to her is, I don't want you smiling. And she said, no one's ever done that before. And I said, oh, that's brilliant, fantastic. And I thought, oh, fantastic, I've got something that nobody else will have. Started the shoot, and she just looked like a killer. She just looked like a murderer. And as I started, I realised, this isn't going to work. This is not the direction that's going to work. Because even though she was pleased as punch to give me her, her completely theatrical, I can be something else bit, it just didn't look.
No, everyone sees her as.
Everyone sees it, and that face, you only ever see that face in looking like that. So I don't know why I'm telling you about all my failures, but there we go.
But it's nice because you photographed so many incredible people that it's just there is an assumption that you just wander in and go, bang, 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 and it's done. People don't realise, like I said at the beginning, they don't realise what actually goes into it. You have to plan it out. My dad, he dabbles in painting, and someone asked him to paint their horse, and my dad took a year to paint the horse, and they kept saying, "Is it done yet?" And I kept, "Dad, is it done?" And he went, "No." He goes, "I'm trying to catch the character of the horse. I can't just paint the horse. I need to capture that thing that they go, oh wow, that's the horse. That's that particular horse." And then when he painted it, I went, "Oh yeah, I totally get it. I totally get what you mean." And the same with your photography. You're trying, like you said, you're trying to capture.
There is a difference, at least with the painting thing. It's just a single point of view on something. You make a decision artistically how you're going to portray this person, creature, whatever. Photography is a bit different, particularly now with digital, in that it's much more of a dialogue. I'm hardly ever now asked to go and do a portrait because quite often it has to portray. It has to illustrate something, and also I'm quite aware that the subject is involved and understands the medium. They understand how they're going to come across. They're much more visually literate. So I have to tread a fine line between delivering a PR shot effectively, how to make you look beautiful, how to make you look wonderful, and having my own point of view. And that's quite difficult because sometimes my own point of view and my own interest in how I'm going to do this photograph is not necessarily what the client will want. So quite often I'll draw a line down the middle and say, well, what is it you need to the client? And I'll deliver that. And then I'll go, right, now I've got 10 minutes left or 5 minutes left. I'm going to do my own thing for better, for worse. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Because we're now in an age of utter flattery, aren't we? Instagram and everything else, it's all about everything's wonderful, everything's beautiful, everything's positive. That's why if you ask most portrait photographers particularly, their heroes are all the people from way back when none of this existed, and you could have an opinion and you could take a picture. I mean, there's been some classic photographs of the years, great pictures that we all look back on now. There's a wonderful Marilyn Monroe one where she looks completely vacant and lost and human, and she would probably hate that picture. Nowadays she'd have a PR come and make you sign an NDA and take the picture down. Really? You wouldn't be able to do that anymore, but it's an iconic picture because it's real.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking about this the other day, where we used to, like you said with the film, like, so you had, you know, there were like we won't have any more like mistakes and like when it develops twice and there's a weird thing going on, and you won't have any of that. Like you say, it's all curated to a point where there aren't any blemishes, no mistakes anywhere.
Well, yeah, in fact, my very, very first job when I got out of art school, so I was probably about, 20 or something, was, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I blagged myself into quite a sort of avant-garde, cool magazine. And they gave me this job to photograph the travel writer P.J. O'Rourke, who I'd never heard of. I mean, I know who he is now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I had no idea who he was. I didn't really know anything. This is pre-Google and all that stuff. So you either went to the library and looked up somebody, or you rang your dad up and said, you know, it was that kind of thing. So went along, did the shoot with my second-hand battered bits of equipment, none of which worked properly. I couldn't afford to rent anything. I didn't actually have an accountant. It was all very basic. Shot the pictures on film, transparency as well, which is very difficult to, you can't get it wrong.
Really?
So these days there's loads of ways of recovering stuff, but in those days it was what you shot was what you got. Took it back to the lab in Soho. He obviously got back on a plane and left. I thought, there's got to be something good on here. Ran it through the lab. The lab brought it back out, and the lab technician put it down on the table and said, "I think you would have a look at this." And you put your pictures on the light box in those days to have a look at them. And the main strip of pictures had a red mist fog all over it.
No.
And I cried.
Yeah.
Because it was my first break, and I cried. I mean, to my embarrassment, I just cried in the lab. I was like, It's over. And the guy came in and said, "What's the matter?" And I said, look what's happening. It's obviously fogged. I had these really cheap cameras. They leak light.
Yeah.
And he said, "Okay." And this was a great piece of advice. He said, "Just believe in it and they will believe in you." And he said, what you should do is cut up the pictures into little individual pictures and mount them like they're worth something, like they mean something, like you are doing this deliberately, and go into the magazine and say, "Do you like my new effect?" So a couple of months later, double page spread in a cool magazine, PJ O'Rourke covered with a red mist.
Oh my God.
They ran it. So it's a sort of belief thing that I it's one of the few things that I've picked up and run with, really, is that not make the best of your mistakes, although there is a bit of that, but it's just a sort of, but if you believe in something enough, other people will believe in you too. People will roll with it, and so I'm trying to be positive, because the instinct is to point out all your mistakes, as I have been doing to you.
Yes,
previously.
yeah, I do.
But also
that a
to
lot.
run with when it works, and other people will go with it. It looked great, actually.
I haven't seen it, but I'll have a look. That's what I think we want when we think there are mistakes. I think we do point them out. We are the first ones to point them out, because we want people to know. No, I know that's that.
It's also a very British thing, though, isn't it?
It is a very British thing. Yeah,
we're very down on ourselves, and very. I mean, I always whenever I get. Particularly with business, and I was going to say business people, but it's not businessmen, actually. If they're English, and I say that as opposed to British, if they're English, the chances are they're going to absolutely hate having their picture taken. Any form of vanity, any form of being seen to be successful, which is what the implication of me turning up in the first place is, they hate it. If they're American, quite often I have to say I've finished, and they're still dancing around, and that's not to decry Americans. It's just that we are a very different breed. We're very
closed in.
We're not that keen on being seen to be successful, or the worst thing in the world would be showing off, wouldn't it? It'd just be dreadful. Just dreadful.
That's the worst thing to be told as well. Stop showing off. You're showing off.
It's the dad thing, isn't
it? It's awful. But this is, I mean, and you said about blagging it. I mean, at least you had the wherewithal at the beginning there to go. I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah, but it's taken me years to get to a state of confidence. Partly because I couldn't afford the security valve of all the clobber you would need to have fallback. I didn't have anybody working for me, and I was knots in stomach. Because when I go on, it's particularly, to a small degree now, but particularly in days of film, when you go on a job, that's it. You travel to somewhere, you do it. You're never going to get a second chance. there's no way of, in those days, there was very little way of recovering anything
Right, yeah.
if you messed up, that was it. The writer, I've had journalists in the back of my car on the way back. We did a shoot once with the two bishops of Liverpool. There was they got them both together for a shoot, the Catholic and the Church of England one. And we went up to Liverpool, took a journalist up there, did the shoot. She did her interview. She got back in the car, sitting in the back of the car. I could hear sobbing in the back of the car. I pulled the car over. I was like, what's the matter? And she said, there's nothing on the tape. I was like, okay, well, get your phone, ring out the PR, tell them that you're going to need some additional words, and you can call them tomorrow and you can do the interview over the phone. They won't even realise.
Yeah.
And sure enough, she did it. It's fine. I read the piece. You'd never know. But of course, if I mess up, if everything's out of focus or if something hasn't backed up or dropped out, or in the days of film, you can't find the film, or you've got your technicals wrong, you're stuffed.
Have you done? Has there been someone where you just?
Yeah. There's been. I mean, I've had ones where I've travelled around the country to do maybe 6 or 8 famous people, and I get to the 5th one, and I'm looking in the bag, and I can't find the film from the previous one. I just can't find it, and. Because we're all human, and But again, so I'm ringing up saying, "Can I come back?" I've had dreadful ones of things going wrong where people haven't backed up my work. We can't find the thing on the computer, all sorts of things. So I have to have all sorts of things in place just to stop me being a ball of tension the whole time. It's a lot simpler now, but I've still done. I did a job a couple of years ago out in Dubai where. About a month later, the client rang up and said, the card that you did the whole thing on has corrupted. We can't find it. Have you got the backup? And I hadn't got the backup.
Shit.
So the whole job was on that card. I assumed they backed it. It's just all this.
And is it, because I've the very few photo shoots that I've had to do for what I do. I remember the first one I ever did with a guy called Andy Hollingworth. And I got there and he said, right, what's the theme? And I'm like, what? He went, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I thought we're just having photos taken. And he's like, no, there should be a theme. We should have. And he hadn't told me that. So we ended up the famous picture with the apple and the bowler hat. That we were going to do that.
Yep.
And it wasn't until afterwards I kind of went, there's supposed to be headshots. Why am I screwing my face with this apple? It's my first experience of that. So when you go, do the client tell you what they want?
Sometimes it's because it's got to match a piece and it's got to match an idea. Sometimes it's got to match the style of whoever you're working for. Sometimes it's just got to match a layout. So there's one Saturday magazine I work for where they always, if it's a double page spread, the person's always on the right-hand side. There's got to be a blank on the left-hand side for headlines. You've got to look at the picture not just as a photograph, but working within a layout.
Of course, yeah.
So I draw up, I'm doing it now for a job tomorrow, I'm drawing up 4 or 5 lighting ideas, layouts, and we'll probably shoot 5 and they'll use 3. But again, tomorrow's a luxury of time. Sometimes, I've done jobs, I did a job a few years ago with, crikey, I can't remember his name. Who's the most famous tennis player in the world?
Oh, blimey. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Paul, any good with tennis players?
Not Andy Murray.
Not him. All right, we'll come back to that one.
I don't know.
Anyway, a very famous tennis player. He has...
Pete Sampras. No.
Roger Federer.
No. The other one.
Djokovic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Djokovic. Djokovic is sponsored by Seiko. That's something else. Sportsmen are a nightmare. Sports people are a nightmare because, for lots of reasons. Generally because they've been fated since the age of about 12. So they're not necessarily the best company. They don't really understand the whole selling yourself through a photograph or presenting yourself. So you tend to get a kind of blank box to work with. And the biggest difficulty is time. And I did Cameron Norrie as another one the other day. And same thing is that they buy slots of time. So in the Djokovic case, he's sponsored by Seiko. They pay him millions of pounds a year. So they buy slots of time with him, 20 minutes. So I got the phone call and said, there's a 20-minute slot with Seiko coming up at this fancy hotel. He's doing this, and this. And I was like, great, 20 minutes is fine. They went, no. That's the Seiko time. Of that time, we can give you 6 minutes.
What?
So this is for a cover and a spread for a magazine. So they said, can you do it in 6 minutes? And I said, well, I've got 3 things to do. I've got to do 3 pictures. And they said, can you do it in 6 minutes? So I said, okay, yeah, all right, I'll do it. So I had to get somebody to come and work with me. We hired a space a couple of days beforehand, and we stopwatched it and worked out how to do it in 6 minutes, how to do it, which involved him arriving. I think I shook his hands. I said, I've got no time to talk. I'm really sorry. And then just told him what to do. And so it's quite a good photograph, but it's not a great portrait because we just had to go through, you just have to kind of bang it out. And
yeah. That's so stressful when you.
It's look. So sometimes I've done some. Yeah, I mean it's stressful when, people occasionally things happen. I've had ones. I've even had. One of my earliest jobs was Margaret Thatcher.
Wow.
Did you know that Margaret Thatcher made a record?
No. What? What?
She made a. Yeah, I don't think it sold very many, but she did the Lincoln Memorial speech to an orchestra, as in she said it. So Thatcher had just been thrown out, and I used to work for quite a lot doing recording sessions for EMI. So you'd go to Abbey Road, there'd be an orchestra in there, and normally I just turn up and do snaps of the orchestra recording and photograph whoever the opera singer was or whatever. It was a nice day in, nice lunch at Abbey Road.
Yeah.
And then one day I got a phone call saying, can you come in tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, fine. Who are we doing? They said, we'll tell you when you get there. So I turn up at the front desk. I say, what are we doing? And they said, just go downstairs. So I go downstairs, 2 big guys on the door, show me some ID, they say. So I get out my driving license and in I go. And it's Margaret Thatcher in there.
God.
No one's told me. It's completely obscure. And I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't know how long I'm there for. And at that time, she's pretty much the most famous person in the world in a bizarre way.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing where, again, I don't know. My weirdest one, if you want my weirdest,
I do, yeah.
November 2019, I'm sitting at home, not a very busy week. And when you're freelancer, you kind of
up and down.
Generally take the work that's coming along. And I'm sitting on the sofa, telephone goes, 6:00 in the evening. Is that Mark Harrison? Yes. Are you free to do a job tomorrow in London? I said, well, who is it? And they said, it's the BBC. And I went, don't know, what is it? And they said, it's Newsnight. And I said, okay. Thinking, well, it's a politician or it's a... I said, well, what do you want me to do? And they said, we just want you to... Are you available to come to the West End to do a shoot? And I said, well, who is it? And they said, we can't tell you. And I said, well, you'll have to tell me because I've got a dishwasher delivery coming tomorrow. So I said, you've got to tell me. What do you want me to do? And they said, no, you have to sign an NDA or else you can't do the job. And I said, well, look, can I call you back in a minute? And they said, you can call us back, but you've got literally 1 minute.
Wow.
So I put the phone down and said to my wife, what do you reckon? She said, well, they won't tell you who it is. And I went, no. And she went, must be good. Must be good. She said, take it. I was like, what about the dishwasher delivery? I've waited ages. We need the dishwasher. John Lewis are coming. She said, no, it's got to be good. So I rang back and said, okay, fine, send me the NDA. Got the NDA. Didn't say what it was on the NDA. Still. Signed the NDA. And I'm not telling you anything that's outside the NDA or that's inside the NDA. I said, well, what are we doing? Where are we doing? And they said, go to this cafe for 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Make sure you're wearing a suit and you'll get a phone call from there. I was like, I never wear a suit. No. Wear a suit. And I said, you do know how I work. I take lights and I have an assistant and I'm a portrait photographer. And they said, you won't need any lights. Just bring a minimal kit. Make sure you're wearing a suit. You're going to be security checked tonight. What? So I was like, oh, okay. I'm thinking it must be the Prime Minister. It just must be. And then I got the address about 11 o'clock at night. I got the address. And it was all a bit panicked. And it was right by Buckingham Palace. So I rang my wife and went, it's right by Buckingham Palace. No. And she was like, okay, you must be doing Meghan. Maybe the Queen's going to make an announcement. I'm thinking, don't be daft. You wouldn't hire somebody like that. And I found myself going into Buckingham Palace with somebody still not knowing what I was doing, taken through the palace, put in a lift, talking to somebody. I'm saying, I don't mean to be odd, but I don't know why I'm here. What are we doing? So we get in the lift. The most surreal thing, standing in Buckingham Palace, going up into the lift doors open. I'm suddenly in the middle of the palace.
What?
And I said, right, you have to tell me, why am I here? And she said, you're here to photograph the Duke of York. And I went, the Duke of York? And I'm thinking, who's the Duke of York? Which one's he? and then she said, it's Prince Andrew. And I went, anyway.
Wow.
Most of the rest of it's under the NDA, but it was. So that was the Emily Maitlis Newsnight interview.
Oh my God.
So that then unravelled, as you saw, with me standing there and me getting my pictures done through thick and thin, and being taken on a slightly bizarre tour of the palace, and then me being told by the producer as the photos wrapped, because I had to get something specific, he just leant across and said to me, you've got 2 hours, this is going to be the biggest story in the world, get out now and call me when you're back in your office. And I don't think I've ever been as nervous leaving somewhere. I got back and I got in a cab, and my heart was going 90 to the dozen. I had 3 or 4 little cards that you shoot onto, none of the usual setups I would normally do. So I'm thinking, if I had no idea whether anything come out, because I didn't think it was going to be that important until it started to unravel. I had no idea it was going to turn. And as it unravelled, it became interesting.
Wow. When you were taking the photos, because the interview itself is bizarre, some of his answers, you're going, what? I mean, when you were taking the photos and you were listening.
Well, I've got to be careful slightly what I say.
Yeah, of course.
But I caught the eye of the cameraman at certain points and we exchanged looks. And I also had to get the photographs done. There's so many things I'd love to tell you, but I can't. But it was the most unusual situation because as it was unravelling, the importance of it only became as important as the thing unravelled.
Yes.
So I wasn't aware this was going to be something of consequence. And by the time I did realise, I had to make sure that I got the pictures. So I stopped the proceedings to get my photographs because I just thought, this is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And I was also aware that they might well stop me leaving because I thought, surely somebody's going to come in from the palace and say, this has got to stop. And they didn't. And I left, and it was.
Wow.
And also the most bizarre, I mean, I've done lots of odd things over the years, but that was particularly extraordinary because I sat in my office here, in my little office here, processing the pictures with a producer sort of pretty much shouting at me down the line, saying, are they ready? Are they ready? Sent them, and he said, just keep an eye on Twitter. He said, watch Twitter, because tomorrow morning, I'm just trying to remember, but anyway, there was a moment where I was sitting looking at Twitter, searching for Newsnight, searching, nothing comes up, and suddenly it comes up, and there's like 250,000 people with a hashtag of Newsnight. So from nothing to that, it's the most. And when you see your pictures go, suddenly, within 48 hours, it was on the front page of every single newspaper over the world, over the entire world. We're getting requests from LA Times, just everywhere. Graham Norton's lot rang up. He wanted to make a gag about it and use all sort. It just went everywhere, and it's so odd to sort of press a button and then wait and see whether it has the reaction that we thought it was going to have. So that's the kind of pressure thing where you don't know, you just don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, like you said, that's the most unusual thing. That's the most unusual thing I've ever heard. Any job. And we were talking before, I think before we started recording, and you were talking about the fact you were doing Keir Starmer, you were editing some photos and you were making him look less sweaty. Did you have to do that with Prince Andrew? Because he did say he didn't sweat. A single bead would have blown his cover.
I can't tell you anything else without risking the NDA. But that was an interesting. The Keir Starmer. No, I mean, one of the strangest things is that technology is now so good. I would hate to be photographed by someone like me these days, because I can pull up, as I've just been doing, you can pull up people's faces to the degree where I can see the surgery on their hairline.
Yes.
I can see that their roots need doing. I can see that they've got really bad acne. Or you can go around, and then you have to make a choice as to what you do. Whether so it was a very hot day. We were in a tiny room. He was a lovely bloke, actually, really lovely bloke. Did exactly as I asked. We had no grooming, no hair and makeup, none of that stuff.
Yeah, okay.
He was like all of us would be if we shoved, as you are, Rich, shoved in a hot, stuffy room. And, so he's hot and sweaty. And I've just got to decide whether I leave that, because that's who it was, and that's how it, or whether I, reduce it and make him look a bit better. I don't know. Yeah. It's an odd dilemma. I mean, we had one a few months ago where somebody wanted a picture I did of Mary Berry, and I said, "Well, do you want me to retouch her? Because I mean, let's face it, how far do you go?" I don't know. Yeah. All of these, it's a huge. It has a huge impact on the way people are perceived. I can't bear it really, but you can knock decades off people, and I don't. It's a fine line judgment, really.
But it's how they want to be portrayed, as you said earlier. It's how, if they want to be seen as a certain way, or they want to be warts and all, honest people.
Yeah, I've had quite a few very famous people lean across and say, retouch the fuck out of me. It's...
yeah.
It's... I did a shoot once with... I think I can. I did a shoot once with Sting.
Yeah.
And... before we did it, we were setting up, and his makeup artist came in and said, very, very, very Frenchman makeup artist, and he leant across and he said, "Have you worked with Sting before?" And I said, "Only, once briefly." And he said, "Do you know?" And I was like, "No, what?" And he said, "You don't know?" And I said, "No, I don't know what." And then he sort of tapped the top of his head and looked at me, and he raised an eyebrow and he said, "No lighting from the top." And I went, "Oh, okay. He's worried about his hair. Okay. All right." And then to his credit, when Sting came in, he said, "Do you know?" And I went, "Yeah, I've just been told." He said, "I don't care."
Oh.
He said, "I don't care." And I thought, you do care.
Yeah.
But that's a very good way around it.
Mate.
So it's difficult. I mean, because you can wreck somebody's career with a photograph. You can make somebody's career with a photograph. Yeah, I think so. You can, I mean, if you flick through the pictures, you'll have somebody sneezing, you'll have somebody coughing, somebody with their eyes shut. You stick all those in the bin. I could not have them in the bin. I could deliver a picture where their eyes are half open, half shut. They look slightly mad.
Yeah.
You have the control to choose the picture, which is either going to be the best one where they look lovely, or it's the one that says something. So sometimes I've done people where, there have been politicians I've done where I've made a conscious effort to make a statement. And, in some ways it's not fair, but it's actually no different to a journalist sitting down with them and having a discussion and coming to a conclusion.
Yeah, true.
But you've got power as a photographer. And sometimes when I've been in a corner, I've always, I leant across and said, it's no good pissing the photographer off because they're going to run this regardless. Don't piss me off. Because if you don't play ball, I'll just shoot a bad picture and they'll run it.
Yeah. Well, look what happened to Ed Miliband eating that bacon sandwich.
Yeah. In fact,
point.
That was one I feel slightly guilty. I did Ed Miliband as well. And how he's sometimes also, at the time, he was portrayed as Wallace from Wallace and Gromit a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think, although I'm not 100% sure, I think I'm a tiny bit responsible for that because he was vying to be leader along with his brother and several other people.
Yeah.
And I knew who he was, but he wasn't at that point a major player. And they asked me to meet him in a football stadium somewhere up north. They said, he's travelling through, have yourself ready in this football stadium conference room, and he'll come in, he'll do the shoot, and then he'll go on. So I put myself in this Middlesbrough or somewhere in a football stadium conference room, set up my backdrop, and I just had watched him on a leadership contest and just thought he was pretty average, really. I didn't think he was any great shakes. So I did something I would never normally do. I put a chair in the middle of the backdrop, and I gave him absolutely no instructions. And he walked up and I just said, "Could you just stand by the chair?" And if you leave people without any instructions, and again, I come back to men particularly, men, if you give them half a chance, if you stand them there, will stand with their hand, they'll stand like the goalie. They'll stand with their hands across across their parts, their legs together, and they'll do the classic insecurity thing. And he just gripped this chair tighter and tighter and stood smaller and smaller. Now, what I'd normally do is say, open up. Body language is everything. You've got to look confident, open your legs, stand like you're going to run at me is the thing.
Right, yeah.
Eiffel Tower shape. Give me that, bit of that looks strong.
Yeah.
The smaller you get, the weaker you look. I just left him and I shot a whole sequence of pictures. I didn't say anything to him. And if you don't say anything to him as somebody as a photographer, it really puts the heebie-jeebies up people. They get very worried. And shot the pictures, rang the news desk and said, "I've got a fucking great shot of Ed Miliband, because he just looks totally insecure. Wow. Now, that was my judgment. I did some headshots, I did some safety stuff as well, and they ran it in the paper, and it became, I think, it's a terrible thing to say. I mean, you know, it wasn't meant as a great statement on its own, but you just realised at that point, I was like, oh my God, they ran they did a cartoon of him as Wallace and, based on it, and I just thought, I had no idea that's
what they were doing.
I had no idea it was going to run like that. I simply just thought at that point he wasn't the man, and I was going to photograph him, do some headshots where he looked good, and then just see what happened when you don't give people instruction. Men are terrible in front of the camera. You know, they just will do that.
But that's it, isn't it? It's once the media, if they want to portray someone in a certain way, that's it. You know, I've met Ed Miliband. I did the podcast that he did with Jeff Lloyd. He's a really lovely man.
Yeah.
And he really knows what he's talking about as well. Brilliant dude. And then, because my dad was a civil servant, and his boss was Gordon Brown. And I was talking to Ed about that. And then when we did the podcast, and it was brilliant. And as I was leaving, he went, give my regards to your father. They're just a really nice guy, you know?
Really nice guy, yeah.
Yeah.
I was, but again, it's the power of the photographer. It was a very unusual thing for me to do. And I was simply going on the debate I'd seen the previous night. And I just thought he came across as weak in debate. Nothing personal.
Yeah.
And I had obviously I had no idea it was going to, as far as I knew, it was going to be a magazine piece, and it turned out to be a news piece.
Yeah.
Because you lose control beyond a certain point. You deliver, and then you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, there are other ones I've done which I'm, you know, in some ways proud of and in some ways not proud of because of the power and the impact you can have. I mean, years and years ago, it's a slightly different thing, but donkeys years ago, I did a shoot with Bob Hoskins.
Oh, wow.
And I really like Bob Hoskins, but he was a great actor. And I was sitting in the studio, and he'd done the interview next door. And what we generally tend to do is, do you do the photographs before the interview? Because they'll be okay if the interview goes badly.
Yeah, of course. Then
the photographs are going to go really badly. And in this case, they did the interview first, and I hadn't seen the interview. And he walks into the room, and he was furious. I mean, like, he was the long Good Friday. He was anyway, slightly terrifying. So I was all set up, and I came in and I said, what happened? And he started swearing and saying the interview had gone really badly. And I said, just keep it going. Sit down and vent your fury. I don't think we actually exchanged any conversation at all. I just recorded the fury and the anger, and delivered it. And it looked great. And hadn't read the piece, no idea. But I just thought, that's what I saw.
Yeah.
That's how he was. Yeah. I didn't create that. I recorded it. So let's shoot it. These days, that would be a lot more difficult because they'd probably say, have you got any shots of him smiling? Yeah. Or the PR would come in and say, you can't do that. Yeah. You've got to...
captured him raw.
Raw and uncensored. And it's always thrilling if you get somebody interesting and successful at whatever they do and they don't turn up with somebody else. They have the confidence to turn up and they've looked at your work and they know who you are and the way you approach things. That's really thrilling. It just means that they're going to give you their all. Yeah.
It's funny that you don't realise because I always think, you know, people aren't looking at this, they're not looking at that, you know. But I was at St Pancras Station. I was walking through, and those pianos are out in the station, and there was a massive crowd around one of them, and I just had to push through. And what's going on? It was Jeff Goldblum.
Oh,
and he was promoting his new jazz album. And he was tinkering away, and he just happened to turn around. I lifted my phone up over the top of everyone, and I just snapped the picture on my phone, not thinking of anything. And I was like, and he just turned around at the right time. And I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. And I tweeted, I'm just wandering through, what am I doing? Oh, nothing, just wandering through St Pancras, watching Jeff Goldblum. And then about half an hour later, I got a load of like news places and like, can we use your photo? Can you use your photo? And you're like, I didn't think anyone would see that. You just don't know, do you? Just, you know.
Well, imagery has never been more powerful, has it? It's everywhere. And the fact that we've all now got phones that shoot pictures, it's just, in some ways, it's the dominant force of communication now. I thought photography was going to disappear with video. I thought it was going to be less important, but actually, in some ways, it's more important. It's
well, as you said, you can make or break someone with a single shot.
Yeah, I mean, and that's also why a lot of people are very defensive when they turn up, and you have to kind of, well, I try and break that distance between us. You know, I can't bear it if they just deliver the same old the same old thing they did for the last person. And my agenda is to try and get something out of them that's different.
Yeah.
So if I'm feeling very confident, sometimes we'll set everything up, have it all ready, and then we'll just sit and talk for 10 minutes. And I won't do anything.
Yeah.
And then eventually I'll actually start shooting while still talking, so that we're not actually particularly aware that we're taking photographs. Is another way of doing it. It's just so that we're recording an event rather than them giving me their best look and their, have you seen my best side, all that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah. Hang on a minute. Producer Paul's put something up on the screen there. Oh my God. So these are all the people you've taken photos of? Everybody. You've taken photos of everyone?
Well, not quite everyone, but yes, quite a lot of people, yeah.
Yeah, Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
How was that one?
Boris Johnson was, I've done a lot of the Johnsons. In fact, I did his sister last week. So I seem to keep bumping into the Johnsons. But anyway, he was mayor of London. It was the cover of a magazine, and he was very odd, actually.
Really?
He was really odd, yeah. We were in the British Museum, and we were doing a shoot for a cover of a magazine, and I almost don't know if I can tell this because it's so to his detriment, really. And it doesn't feel very fair. But anyway, I will. He's sitting there. I can't get his attention at all. So
Really?
we're 3 foot apart.
Yeah.
Got all the lights set up. I just can't get his attention. And his PR at the time, in front of him, just turns to me and says, "Have you photographed Boris before?" And I'm thinking, he's
not
right
even there.
He's right behind you. And I went, "No, I haven't." And she said, "Well, just ask. Tell me what it is you want, and I'll tell him." And I went, "I can't. He's there. He's the mayor of London." It's almost like dealing with a small child, and I don't mean that specifically, but it felt like the process that I had to go through was like you would do with your toddler, and it was very difficult to get him to focus. Let's put it like that.
Really?
It was a bit of an Al Gore moment where I just had to cut. You couldn't get him to behave in any particular way. But I have to say, a lot of politicians are like that.
Yeah.
I find it's the kind of person who
becomes a politician.
They're an odd lot. Some, not all of them, but I've done some terrific ones. But a lot of them are strange.
Well, it's funny with anybody, politicians, musicians, whoever, when they get to a certain level, or they are, like you say, there's a certain way that got them to that level.
Comedians,
like Sting,
Rich?
Sorry?
Comedians as well?
Comedians as well, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I think I don't have that. That's why I'm where I am. I don't have that. Neil Ennis said, they said to speak to Neil Ennis, and they said to him, they said, "Oh, you should have been, why weren't you more successful? You should have been bigger." And he's like, "I didn't have very pointy elbows."
Yeah, I get that.
But Boris Johnson, I quite liked him in the early days. Everybody did. When he did Have I Got News for You, I read a piece in a magazine, might even been the piece you're talking about, where he pulled up on his bicycle. It must have been a different one, because he pulled up on his bicycle and outside the BBC, as he's locking his bike up, and he turns around to the BBC building and he went, "Nest of paedophiles," and and it just made me laugh. And it's the charisma thing, isn't it? You can be charismatic. It doesn't necessarily mean you want to be left with that person, holding everything in their palm of their hands. No.
I just find him nightmarishly worrying.
Yes.
Totally nightmarishly worrying.
Yeah.
But he may be a lovely person. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? That you can be a lovely person. It doesn't. There's two things. You've got a job, and your personal. I've met generally. I don't know about you, Rich, but I go in with an open mind to almost anybody.
Same, yeah.
And sometimes people will surprise you. Sometimes people you have prejudice. I can't stand them. I can't stand. It's very easy, isn't it? I can't. You meet them and they're lovely. 9 times out of 10, people are lovely.
Yeah.
Most people are really. I think people are lovely. Don't you think?
Well, mostly, I think, like you've said, it depends on your. If I'm in a bad mood, then I'm a bit more closed off. But most of the time, I'm in a good mood. And like someone said to me recently, said, "Rich, you could get on with a brick wall. Like you just." Because the way I see it is everyone's fine until they've proven me otherwise. Whereas I know people that think everybody's an arsehole until proven otherwise. They start from that. Well, look, I also have to
react to the fact that a lot of people I meet in a work situation think all photographers are idiots and bastards and useless, and so I'm on the back foot sometimes as well, because I'm having to. The last time they were photographed was either a paparazzi, or and they can't stand it, or they had a really bad picture taken and they don't like it. You're on the back foot. So I don't know. It's difficult.
Well, it's funny. I've met a couple of people that are paparazzi, and I've got to say, I mean, we had a pint and it was fine, but they were difficult company. They were arseholes.
Well, it's nothing to do with photography, is it? Really, it's just for them. It's just a job. It's more about the business side. You're not trying to take a good picture. You're just trying to get the picture.
Yes.
So I'm out to try and get an interesting photograph, and that either both works and says something and is entertaining to look at or interesting to look at. They're just, I have been in a million situations where I could have done a pat picture and made a fortune. I used to do. For several years, I did Pippa Middleton.
Oh, really?
Photographed her for a magazine where she was doing something for about 3 years. And we used to have situations where we would organise to photograph her completely secret. So a car would pick her up, we'd go somewhere, we'd shoot it. And she would sometimes say to me, can you hold an umbrella up as I leave? And I was like, it's not raining. And she's like, I know, but I'm being photographed. And she said, and I was like, there's no one there. I said, look, I'll go out and have a look. There's no one there. I go out, couldn't see anyone at all. So we do what she asked, get her into the car. And 30 minutes later, we're clearing up the stuff. And I go on the Mail online, have a search, and there we are.
No.
Sometimes with me standing with the umbrella there. There's been somebody who stood out all day to try and get that shot, because they'll get whatever they'll get money-wise.
People, when they need to, people really do know how to hide.
They know how to hide long lenses, and also... it's a money bag thing, isn't it? Certain people are just, you stand out all day with a long lens and waiting, and you're going to earn yourself enough to look after yourself for the week.
I suppose you have to be a certain kind of person who doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And, you're ruthless as well.
Yeah.
Just ruthless.
Yeah. These guys, my mate's got a pub, the Charlotte Despard in Archway.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a couple of them in there, and I was talking to, that's where I was. And they're not people I would have chosen to have spent the evening with. We just happened to have done a gig, and then afterwards we were talking, but the way they were talking, they just didn't give a shit about people. It was all about getting the shot, getting the money.
You can't get emotional. I suppose they would say you can't get emotional about it.
No.
No, it's the fame thing. I mean, I've seen so much of fame, and I don't think I'd ever want. I'd love to be super successful, but I don't think I want to be famous. I don't know how people. The idea that when you're walking to a supermarket, when you've just got your little list on your phone or whatever to get your bits, and that actually you're aware that everyone else is looking at you and judging you and having their prejudices, as I mentioned earlier, coming to the fore, and also wondering what's on your list.
Yeah,
it's just nuts, isn't it?
You could have your basket exposed.
Indeed. Well, they're saying, how come he's got some fancy courgettes or something? It's just, I don't, no. Hate it.
But I was talking to, I'm not name dropping, but Jenny Ryan from The Chase.
Oh, yeah.
So she came to our gig last night. Brilliant. She's such a lovely woman. She's fantastic. But she's so aware of, like, anything she says is going to get picked up, because it's the biggest TV show at the minute. And she was saying last night, she goes, I just know how to play it now. I know what to say, what not to say. Can you imagine having that life where everything is scrutinised, everything is just pulled apart?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because my next job is The Beast from The Chase.
Oh, really?
I'm doing his autobiography.
Oh, wow.
Next week. So, I completely... And they're not even what you would call... They've kind of arrived in celebrity.
Yeah.
It's not like that they've been an actor since they were 16 and they've got to the top. They've kind of just come in at right angles, haven't they? So
yes.
That must be even stranger.
Yeah.
They're really good at something, and they happen to have been picked up and given this primetime slot, and the show's taken off and been massively successful. It must be just
crazy.
Just crazy and surreal.
Yeah. But then you think about the next level, like you say, like the Royals. Now, I remember my ex-partner, she did a gig at the Palladium. And so Rob Brydon was on and all these, but Prince Edward was in, it was something to do with him. And so he was there and he met everybody. And I was like, she was doing her thing. So I sort of stepped out of the way and was outside with all autograph hunters and everyone afterwards. And Prince Edward came out and he was saying hello to everybody. And then he gets in his car, and I didn't even realise this at the time until they left. Suddenly, the whole street by Liberty around there, Prince Edward got in his car, and then the 3 cars pulled away and disappeared. It was like all of the shadows in the street suddenly followed him. It was incredible. I was like, oh my God, there was security everywhere, and you didn't see any of them. But it was like, honestly, like I said, the shadows just followed them right out. And you go, wow, that is another level of.
Do you know, although
security.
99% of what I do is set up and lit and choreographed, and they come to me, or we do something set up. I did do a job donkeys years ago, again back in the days of film, where I was asked by BAFTA to go and do. There was some sort of BAFTA ceremony in somewhere like the Palladium, and Prince Edward was the host, and they said, "Could you come in and just do some shots of Prince Edward?" You have to go on something called the Royal Rota, which means you've got clearance to be. So you become a Royal Rota photographer for that period. You're cleared for security, and there are usually only about 2 of you in a situation. So there's me and one other guy. So I was in the backstage bit. I did my pictures with him. That was fine. The security were very, very, very aggressive with me, and very almost pushing me around. I was like, I was feeling. It wasn't really what I normally do.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'd done it, and I was feeling a little bit perturbed by how full on they were. And we go into the auditorium, full packed auditorium, Prince Edward obviously on the front row, and I'm standing on the side, lights are all on, then the lights go down and he goes up on stage. And my job, my final picture I have to take is him on stage. It's now almost total darkness apart from the spotlights on the stage. And I thought, well, I'll have to get a long lens and just do it from the side. So I pick up my camera, put my long lens on, put my flash on, and just touch my camera button. And what I'd completely forgotten is that when you touch your camera button in the dark with a flash on a camera, in order to focus that camera, it sends out a little red light.
Oh,
like
my God.
A beam of light. So you have to imagine 500 people in an audience, a beam of red light goes across the audience, hits Prince Edward on the top of his head and circles his head.
My God.
And at that point, it takes you sort of the 1 second to think, I'm just looking like I'm snipering the royals.
Yeah.
There's a security guard who's just been incredibly aggressive with me. I think I should leave now.
Did they not say anything? They come piling over.
They took me down and I made my excuses and left, yeah.
It must be when you're in those high pressure situations, when you come away from it, do you have a moment where you just go, fucking hell?
Oh, I won't name them, but yeah, there was a couple of very well-known people I photographed for a magazine who was so difficult and changed the goalposts so specifically on the day that I finished the shoot and sat outside with my head between my knees for about 5 minutes just to kind of get a grip on it, because I knew that I had to deliver what was required. They had wrecked it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, no one gives a shit. There's no excuses in my job. So,
oh, really?
No one. You can't ring up and say, yes, but you know what she said? She said she had to go then, and this is all changed, and she wouldn't do this, and as in happened in this case, she shouted and swore about the clothes and said she thought the lighting was shit and all this. And they are like, "Did you get the shot?"
Yes or no?
That's it. Did you get the shot? And I go, "Yes, I got the shot." And they're like, "Great." Put the phone down. It's just
wow.
So no one's interested in your sob story. They just want to know, did you get it? So I have to deliver. I'll deliver. I'll do anything to get the shot.
Yeah.
You know, I once photographed the. Sorry, it sounds like a listen.
No. You photographed.
I photographed the Archbishop of Canterbury once. Went to Lambeth Palace, took the pictures, and as I was doing it, I was realising it was just rubbish. Just rubbish. Yeah. But I had my slot, and I couldn't stop it. And I realised I hadn't got time to move. So I finished the pictures. He left, and I put my head between. I was just like, oh my God, I haven't got it. I know this is rubbish. So I spent an hour wandering around the palace trying to find people and begging to get him back again. Yeah. Just begging.
Wow.
He wouldn't come back out. We did what we did, but I knew I hadn't got anything good.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do about it. It is what it is.
You've been told what you want to, the particular shot.
And I just hadn't got it. I hadn't got anything interesting out of it. Again, you put that on my list of failures, but you have to, because they just won't hire you again.
Yeah.
You just, no one gives a shit.
That must be so stressful when you come away from it going, "Oh, I failed." That's
You're a
it.
stand-up. You talk about stressful. Come on.
Yeah, but yes, you're right. And I suppose yes,
You live and die on the moment.
that's true actually. And when you do have a bad gig, you go, "That's it. It's all over." And then, but luckily, you've already got another one booked in.
I photographed a lot of comedians, and one of them, quite very well-known comedian, we did recently, and I sat during lunch with him, talked about the up-and-coming younger comedians.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. His body language changed. His arms came in tighter.
Oh, yeah.
His head dropped a little bit. He caught me out the corner of his eye, and I just, it's a very competitive world. He was like, yes, it is.
And more so. It's getting more so. I was at a Christmas party just the other night, and it was at 21 Soho, and I was very surprised to have got an invite in the first place. And I got there, and I was the oldest one. Must have been the oldest comedian that was in the room. And it was all the young up and coming, and they all knew each other, and they're all dancing around. And I've never felt more out of place.
That's the age thing, isn't it? I mean, I'm in my mid-50s, and it's I'm now super aware of my age, and I see. I mean, maybe it's my vanity, but I recognise, I see how I think I'm perceived through other people. So it's getting more difficult to be down with the kids, as it were, and also to pretend that I'm going to somehow be the hip new thing, because I'm not.
No,
I've been around too long. It's an age thing, and it's difficult. My industry, I don't know about yours, because there is a huge respect as people get in your world for people of all ages. I wouldn't have thought it was quite so youth based, but
it is.
Is it?
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, more so, I'd say. And it's funny, like you say, yes, you get people. There are certain people that have been around long enough and there's a respect. I know that I've been told myself, people, they go, "Oh yeah, people respect you." But I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't pay the bills. That doesn't get me anywhere. I'm like, thank you, but it doesn't get me anywhere. But I suppose it's the same. I suppose there's similarities in all aspects of what we do. Really.
Yeah, but yours is a performance, and mine's a tiny performance, but it is a little. I still go into a kind of performance mode to a degree, but yeah, you live and die on the moment, don't you? If you go down well, you'll get another gig, and if I go down well, I'll hopefully get another gig as well.
Yeah.
But I'm aware that I treat everything like this is it. You're being judged on today.
True. Yeah,
and that's quite wearing. I'm sure you find it wearing. You have to be your best every time.
Yeah.
And sometimes, there have been occasions where I've just run out of ideas.
Yeah. Well, when you're, like you say, you're trying to get the best out of that person.
Yeah, or you just walk into
nothing.
they give you you turn up in a hotel room, and they go, "Yeah, we need 4 different shots," and I just can't see anything. I look around, and I'm like, I can't think of anything to do, or they're just dull as ditch water. There's just nothing going on.
Yeah.
And I've got to come up with something, because I've got somebody who's going to say, why didn't this work? So
yeah.
So I'm sure you've got your fail safes.
Yes,
there you go.
Do. Yes.
You've got your fails. I've got my fail safes.
But yours now people know it's you have even though it's different people and you're trying to get different things out of different people, but people know it's your style of photograph. They go, "Oh, that's yours. That's his." Yeah,
maybe. But I try. I'm one of the few photographers. I don't really have a set style. A lot of my people I compete with have a one thing they do, and that's it. I'm a bit more of I'll deliver you 3 different things. I try and but I just want to produce something that I'm proud of, and also I just want to produce something that again, it's vanity, isn't it? But I would love it if the person I photographed liked the picture. I mean, it's just if they're happy with it or excited by it, or that's just the best feeling. But it is complete vanity, isn't it?
Of course. Yeah.
You like the applause.
I do. That's what we talked about earlier. Yeah. It's a tough night when you don't get laughter or applause. And, it's, just that affirmation. Go, "Oh, I've done a good job."
Yes.
That's what you want.
Yeah. I think affirmation, that's
I think that's what we want.
Maybe I'll change my Twitter handle. I'll put affirmation, please. More of. Yeah.
More of. In brackets. This has been lovely.
Oh,
This would be great. Have you got a favourite one person that you always wanted to photograph and then you managed to do it? Is there anyone in particular, or someone that you would like to photograph?
Most people like to photograph are now dead. I'd love to do, it's the usual suspects, really. It's difficult to differentiate between people who are your personal heroes and people who you think would be interesting to photograph. So, you know, I've done, a lot of people who I thought would be really interesting to photograph have actually just been very, very difficult.
Yeah.
You know, I did Stephen Hawking not long before he died, and that was incredibly difficult for obvious reasons. You can't do a lot, and also on that occasion, he didn't like flash going off, so he just shut his eyes. So I'm finding myself negotiating with Stephen Hawking, which takes a while to keep his eyes open for the game. So there's lots of super interesting people. I mean, I'd love to do Michael Caine.
Oh, excellent! Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's just because I don't think there's anybody more British than Michael Caine.
No,
he's transcended everything, and he's interesting, and he's iconic.
Yeah.
And also, I haven't seen a good picture of him in about 40 years, so I quite like a challenge. I quite like to do something with him where he just looks excited. He looks enthusiastic. He tends to have that Zen look, and I like a challenge. So I'd love to do that.
Or maybe if he's listening.
Oh, there you go. Come on, Michael.
Come on, Michael. Let's make this happen. You get him talking about, I think he's into his music, so.
Oh, well, I love him. Yeah, I'm well into my music, so.
Get him talking about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I would sense that he's a no shit sheriff as well, though, that I'd have to be on it. And people like that are almost more worried. I did a shoot with Joanna Lumley, who is kind of a regularly famous person, and I was more nervous about that than I have been for ages, not because she's famous, not because of anything, but I was aware she'd been photographed by the top photographers in the world ever. So I'm now standing and having to reach the bar of all my icons, and that's the thing. So it's like you standing in front of Richard Pryor or something. It's just it makes you up your game, and that's. But I've done quite a few heroes who musical heroes and writers, and I've done lots of people who are interested in me, but I don't have any great control over these things, so I just get the gig or I don't get the gig.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes I get the gig and I can't do it.
Oh no!
I've had ones that sometimes. I mean, there was one years ago, but where I was working in a studio in London, and they all knew I was a David Bowie nut. And it's a series of studios in a complex. And as I was packing up, the guy came over and said, "Bowie's coming in later if you hang around."
Wow.
I said, "You're kidding." They said, No, hang around. Take your time packing up. So I packed up as slowly as I could, got to the end, still no show. I thought he's never going to show. And of course, packed the car, left. Next time I was in, they said, "Oh, you just missed him. You left as
every time."
I'm like, But on the other hand, there is the never meet your heroes thing, isn't there? That you do meet them.
There is that.
And if they're horrible to you, or they're not very interesting, or they don't like your picture, I don't know. Sometimes
it does sully it somewhat.
Yeah, it does sully it somewhat.
Yeah. Oh, but this has been great. I knew this would be
well,
great.
Look, one day,
Thank
Rich,
you.
I'll photograph you, and then it'll all be over. That'll be it.
That's when I'll know. That I've achieved something. Is when you're. Can we do a session? Now I know I've achieved something.
There you go.
That's it. So that'll be the benchmark. That's how I'll know. This has been great. Where can we find you on social media and things?
You can find me on Instagram, Mark Harrison Photography, or Twitter handle is Snapper Harrison, or markharrisonphotography.com.